Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Transformers Prime 10th anniversary HADES Megatron. I personally have been looking forward to this set ever since it was revealed by Hasbro, and as of now Hasbro unfortunately have not announced any plans to re-release any of the other Transformers Prime figures, so this could potentially be the last 10th anniversary pack that I do indeed look at. But nonetheless, I personally am really looking forward to this, especially as I never actually picked up any version of the original RID Voyager class Prime Megatron. Taking a look here at the packaging, you can see that of course we do have the Transformers Prime artwork with the lightning bolts striking the logo. We of course do have it here in a mounting setting. We've got the 10-year anniversary to Karatomi. We do have the Transformers Prime sticker with the HADES Megatron insignia. So without further ado, let's crack open HADES Megatron and see what awaits us inside. So once again, similarly to the Generation Select figures, I do imagine that you just simply snip this section here all the way. I'm absolutely destroying the box, and then just open this flap here, and of course Transformers Prime 10th anniversary. And here we have HADES Megatron, and whoa, my goodness, does this figure look a lot better than some of the initial promo images. The chrome has worked so nicely on this character, and the purple does complement it really well. It does appear as if though he does come with one of those arms Micron. Once again, as mentioned in my previously reviewed Breakdown and Jet Viacon 2-pack review, I will not be applying any stickers to this set as they were so tedious on that Breakdown and Viacon pack, and honestly, I don't believe that the end result looks all that great. But just taking HADES Megatron here out of the equation, we do get a sticker sheet which will certainly be going straight into the trash. Of course, we do get the instruction manual, and we do get here what I believe are the parts to build Megatron's arms Micron, which in this instance I believe makes up his fusion cannon as well as an almost jetpack for him. So really awesome idea, and I personally cannot wait to crack HADES Megatron open and see what awaits me inside. And so here we have the HADES Megatron opened up and out of the packaging, and despite some of my earlier reservations regarding the colour scheme, I've got to say that in hand this figure certainly looks a lot better than some of the initial promo images. Whilst not 100% perfect, mainly in regards to the tolerances of some of the joints, I do think that this is a really nice representation of the Transformers Prime Megatron, and I am certainly glad to add this figure to my collection after 10 years of wanting to pick this up. Now, as this is a reissue of one of the Karatomi releases, this is actually a little different when compared to the original RID Voyager Megatron that was released as part of the main Transformers Prime line. The main differences between this particular figure and the standard release is that this one now had chrome. It had a little bit more of a darker colour palette as far as the plastic was concerned, and it completely scrapped the original Megatron's fusion cannon, and this time opted to give him an armed Microns. His fusion cannon, which is now called Gora 2, and of course the entire back assembly, which is the Decepticon HADES. This figure here also comes with a slew of additional stickers, some of which I have applied to Megatron in his robot mode and applied to HADES himself. I haven't applied all of the stickers to the actual Gora 2 as it is incredibly finicky, and just personally for me, I didn't think that the end result would warrant putting all of that time and attention into some very cheaply made stickers. Now, to kick things off, we'll start off firstly by taking a look at one of the armed Microns, that being the Decepticon HADES himself. You can see that I do have it attached to Megatron's back, and I've got to say that this looks so much better than some of the initial promo images. I really do think that it creates for this almost massive Dark Energon at the back of Megatron. Perhaps this could be one of the entities that the Dark Energon has manifested at the back. I think that that is a really awesome concept, and I think that the colour palette really complements the chrome and dark gunmetal design of Megatron really well. Of course, we can just attach it, and just to quickly show you how that looks from a back perspective, you can see how I have added some of the additional stickers here in order to just give a little bit more detail, as before I did add these, it was merely just translucent purple plastic, but it does remove very easily via a 5mm port. And just setting Megatron here off to the side and taking a look here at Decepticon HADES himself, in order to transform him, you simply just want to raise the head up like so. We can then bring the legs down, take these claw sections here and rotate those around on both sides, and here we have HADES in his robot mode. And considering this figure did come dismembered in many different pieces of which you had to connect in order to build this figure, I think that Karatomi did a really nice job with this particular arms Micron. To me, I get very Mindwipe-esque vibes from this. Of course, this has got the alternate mode of a bat, and I think that the sculpt work is really well done from a figure which has been entirely cast out of transparent purple plastic. You can see all of the fantastic sculpt work that we've got going along here for the wings. I think that the head sculpt there has come out really nicely, Firstly, you can see the red sticker, which I have got to admit was by far the worst sticker to actually apply to this figure, as not only is it incredibly small, but to position it in the eye cavity itself certainly is a lot more finicky than perhaps I would have liked. I'm really unsure as to why in 2020 Hasbro are still giving us stickers. I would much rather have them pre-applied the stickers. Despite that not being truthful to the original Takara Tomy release, I just think that it would have made for a lot more of a pleasant user experience than having to apply all of these very cheaply made stickers. I won't delve into the stickers too much in this review, as I have already discussed my critiques with them in my previously reviewed Breakdown and Jet Veer concept, but definitely these are something that I hope we see scrapped if they do re-release some of these Takara Tomy figures. You can see that we do get the claws here on the top of the wings, and you can see that we do also get the legs, which have got some very menacing looking claws. And overall, as far as an alternate mode goes, I think that they've done a really nice job. In terms of articulation, the wings here are on soft ratchet joints, so you are able to hinge them back and forth as well as extend them. We also do get ratchet joints here at the legs, so these can kick forwards and backwards, and the head here can articulate. However, that is mainly due to transformation. So you have seen its configuration when you do attach it to Megatron's back, and of course here we have him in the robot mode, but there is indeed a third transformation for this, and that is to transform him into this huge, almost trident weapon for Megatron to wield. So to begin with, you're going to want to take this assembly here and just ratchet this section here down. We can take the head, and this too is going to click nice and securely into place. I recommend moving the legs out like so and flipping up the missile pods, so just hinge that up just like that. We can then bring these here all the way around until they clip nice and securely into place. What I then recommend doing is you're going to want to bring these up here, ratchet that section down, bring these pieces together, and you can see how we do have a tab and a slot here that you're just going to want to connect. These sections, I recommend ratcheting them outwards. And there we have Megatron's huge looking staff weapon. I really think that this looks incredible. The only downside to this, in my opinion, is that Megatron is unable to wield this effectively due to this figure having incredibly loose and floppy joints, which I'll delve into more once we cover the articulation. But just to show you some of the ways that you can actually integrate this into the figure, the first of which is actually tabbing it here into the side of the arm. Personally, I don't really think that looks all that great. Whilst not terrible, I think that it kind of defeats the purpose of having a handle. So what I tend to do is just take the peg, port it into the hand, and in my opinion that looks a lot more formidable than having it pegged onto the forearm. Once again, it is just a shame that none of the joints of Megatron here can hold it up. Even the figure is lighter than this actual assembly itself, so even if you were able to pose this figure in a dynamic pose with this, I'm pretty certain that Megatron would unfortunately topple over. We'll set Hades here off to the side and take a look at the second arms Micron, this being Gora 2. Now this actually transforms into Megatron's iconic fusion cannon, and when I initially saw images of this, I thought that this looked ridiculous. I thought it was way too large and did not resemble anything like we'd seen in the Transformers Prime series. However, I can confirm that in person it certainly looks a lot better. Now you can see that as far as the details and overall sculpt is concerned, there is no denying that it does resemble the fusion cannon that we see on screen. I personally just think that it's a little too fat and is a little too short. If they could have maybe just extended it perhaps by 10%, I believe that may have increased its accuracy to the show. As mentioned earlier on in the review, I did apply the minimal amount of stickers to this as possible, as they were just so finicky. All I did apply was the top section here of the fusion cannon, just to give you a little bit more detail, and I think that the sticker detail here has come out really well. These are foil and are metallic in terms of their design, so will reflect depending on what lighting you have, and I think that that there for the most part looks really well done, as so does the fusion cannon in general. However, in order to transform him into the Gora 2 mode, you're going to want to take these sections here and hinge those out to the side. Of course, repeat the same process. You're then going to want to ratchet these sections here down. We can then take this here and bring this down, and then this section will split open just like so. Bring these pieces here down. You're going to want to take this peg, lift this section here up, and here we have Gora 2 fully transformed up into his robot mode. Certainly one of the more peculiar designs in my personal opinion. This really does give me vibes of perhaps the pile drivers that we would see from the likes of Rumble from one of the Soundwave minions, but definitely not a bad looking arms Micron. However, personally, I'm more than likely just going to display this in its fusion cannon form. Now, if I were to apply some stickers, I'm pretty sure that there would be some eye detailing on there. You can see that it does have a very odd looking head sculpt, and overall the design is certainly a little bit more abstract abstract than compared to what we got with Hades, but definitely not a terrible looking piece. Now, setting both of the arms microns off to the side and focusing here on the main event himself, here we have the Hades Megatron, and for the most part this is just a direct reuse of the original Transformers Prime Megatron, however this time done in the more Takara Tomy accurate scheme, that matching his appearance when he has indeed infused himself with Dark Energon. Taking a look here at the head sculpt, you can see that for the most part I think that the sculpt work on that has come out really well. I love the transparent purple plastic that this figure has got present throughout the entirety of his torso, as well as the head sculpt and the forearms. I think that that looks absolutely tremendous, and in my opinion perfectly captures the appearance that we did see on the show. I also am a massive fan of the metallic chrome that we have got here for the shoulder pads, as well as the main chest unit. You can see that they have given it this almost brushed effect, which I think perfectly captures the appearance of Megatron from the Transformers Prime series. My only gripe with this figure is that when you take into account the rest of the figure, it does become a little bit more bland, especially as we take a look here at the legs and of course the forearms. I believe that if they could have implemented some of this chrome here for this torso region, as well as on the forearms and the legs, that would have greatly amplified my overall impressions, as for the most part it looks like one half is chrome and the other half has just been completely left. As we take a look here at the back of Megatron, this is certainly an area that I wished Hasbro would have implemented some chrome, especially when we do get him into jet mode, as this is just dark gunmetal plastic and certainly doesn't look all that great once again when we do get him transformed. The only reason why I did apply the stickers to Megatron is because I believe that without them he did look slightly bland, especially as we take a look here. These are stickers, all of this section here is stickers, the interior are stickers, these purple metallic foils here on the knees are also stickers, as so are the forearms. The Decepticon insignia also is a sticker, which I have no idea as to why they wouldn't just stamp on a Decepticon insignia, but overall as far as the sculpt and the overall look of this figure is concerned, I think that it is a really nice representation of Megatron from the Transformers Prime series. As far as articulation is concerned, the head here is on a ball joint, so can look left to right and can look slightly up and down and tilt side to side. The shoulder pads are on hinge joints as well as on ball joints, so they really are able to be moved out of the way in order to accommodate the range of motion that you may get here from the arms. So these can rotate the full 360 as well as hinge out to the sides, and the joints on these arms here are actually incredibly tight. We do get a rotation here just below where the forearm is, as well as a 90-degree bend here at the elbow. No waist rotation, which is unfortunate. However, the legs here are where my major issues lay in terms of the tolerances. The ball joints are just so loose and floppy on this figure. It is unbelievable, and that is the major issue that I have concerning him holding the accessories, is that if these were a little tighter, I'm pretty sure he may have been able to pull off some of these slightly more dynamic poses that you would want from a Megatron. But with the ball joints we can rock this side to side. We also do get a thigh rotation, a 90-degree bend here at the knee, and then due to the transformation the foot here can pivot left to right. So overall, as far as detail and sculpt is concerned, for the most part I think that it is pretty well done. It's just I wish they could have spread some of this chrome out to the forearms and certainly the lower legs. And here for a Megatron size comparison, we have the 2010/2011 Voyager class compared next to the 2019/2020 Siege Megatron, and this here has got to be my favourite Megatron to this present date. I love the colour scheme that the Netflix Megatron does have, as well as the overall sculpt, but comparing these two figures here, I personally always regarded the older figures to be superior when compared to the modern figures, but there is no denying that as of late, Hasbro have drastically increased the quality of their War for Cybertron figures, as in my opinion this Siege Megatron obliterates the quality of the 2011/2010 Megatron. But just for a very quick comparison, you can see that for the most part they are roughly the same size, with the Siege Megatron being perhaps a hair taller than compared here next to the Transformers Prime Megatron. So without further ado, let's get into the transformation. So to start things off, to begin with, you're going to want to fold the hands here into the forearms. We're then going to take the forearms and rotate them so that the inner section of the arm is now facing outwards. We can then of course repeat the exact same process here on the opposite side. I then recommend taking these shoulder pads here. You're going to want to lift these up and rotate these around so that once again the outside is now facing the inside and vice versa. So just rotate this section here to the top. We're then going to turn our attention here to the back, and I would recommend pulling down this purple section and then taking this and lifting this here all the way up. With that now done, that will then allow us to bring the head up as well, and then I like to take the chest unit here, split that and just angle that down in order to allow for some additional clearance. What you're then going to want to do is take these sections and just hinge those down, which will allow for some clearance to bring these pieces here forwards, and just bring this one in as well. We can then tab these into place, although they are more than likely going to become detached throughout the duration of the transformation. As you can see, they don't even want to stay tabbed when I have the figure in a more than static pose. We're then going to want to rotate these arms here in a way so that the hollow section is facing the top. So just rotate this here all the way around. It can be rather finicky to do due to the arms, but just hinge that there. And of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We're then going to want to turn our attention here to the interior of Megatron, and you can see how we do have these huge ports that will actually peg into the slot on the underside of the shoulders. So bring this section here in, and of course repeat the same process. We can then take these two transparent purple pieces of plastic and tab them nice and securely into one another, and then just bring these up until they do indeed snap into place securely. What I then recommend doing is turning your attention here to the front of Megatron, and for this you're going to want to take the crutch plate, hinge this section here down until it tabs into its new slot. So it was pegged into this slot, you're now going to want to peg this tab into this slot, and then we can take a look here at the legs. Now for these, it's rather difficult to actually showcase on camera, but you're going to want to position them in a way so that the shins of the legs are facing one another. We can then bring this entire section here up and over, just like so. We can then take the toes here, you're going to want to fold those in upon themselves, and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We can then take a look here at this section, and you're going to want to untab this, hinge this section here out and fold out this spike. Of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side, and you can see here in what I was mentioning in regards to the tolerances, this figure is just so loose, and all of the problems do stem mainly from the ball joints for the legs. What we can do is take this tab here, which will peg into this slot, so just snap that in there, and of course repeat the same process here on this side. And I'll just very quickly show you here, there is a tab here that you're going to want to peg into this slot, so rotate this here around, and it is just a matter of aligning this up appropriately, but this should just tab nice and securely into place like so. And of course repeat the same process here on this side, so just bring that over, snap that into place, ensuring that everything is aligned up appropriately, and then the hollow spaces of the shoulder pads should fit over the top just like that. Once again, bring that crotch plate down, bring these two sections here in together, and here we have Megatron fully transformed up into his jet mode. And once again, I think that this is a really nice representation of how Megatron appeared in the Transformers Prime TV series. Now, personally, I've always believed that the APC Toys Megatron is the best representation that we are probably ever going to get for Transformers Prime Megatron. I do believe that that figure was based on the original first edition deluxe class figure that many were hoping Hasbro would take and upscale into a Voyager class. However, they did decide to just give Megatron his standalone Voyager release, so there are no elements here of the original deluxe figure, which is unfortunate. But setting those critiques off to the side, I do think that this resembles what we see in the show. Of course, we do have the legs clearly hanging out here. However, Megatron's jet from the TF Prime show was always a little chunkier in his jet mode than compared to some of his previous appearances. So setting the legs here off to the side from a bird's eye perspective, I think that it certainly looks like what we see in the show. I love the front section here of the jet, very accurate in my opinion, and I think that once again the chrome complements this so nicely. It's just a shame that this entire midsection is just dark plastic. As mentioned in the robot mode, this is really the area that I wish they would have chromed, as I think it would have looked so nice when compared to the rest of the figure, even when comparing it here next to the chrome foiled stickers. You can see, of course, we do have Megatron's head clearly poking out, much like we saw in the show. We do have a Decepticon insignia, which is once again a sticker. I do like the placement here for the shoulder pads, as well as how they do fold into the wings, and the purple metallic highlights too have also come out really well. As far as actually integrating Hades into this particular alt mode, the transformation to get Hades in his jet mode configuration is pretty much identical to what we saw when we attached it onto his back in robot mode. The only difference this time is that you're going to want to bring the legs out, as well as this entire section here. So just bring this section down. We can then take the head and also tuck this in, rotate the guns so that they are now facing the front, and we can orientate these wings in whatever way we so desire. You're then going to want to take this peg here, just remove the fusion cannon, and then this section will tab into place just like this. There are a few ways that you can actually do this. You can take this peg and port it in that way, which I personally believe looks a lot better, as it's not just completely hanging out there on the back. And then we can just take the fusion cannon here and tab it onto the top of the head. So this is definitely my preferred way of displaying Hades when attached to Megatron. Just very quickly showing you how the instructions do show him. You can see that it simply does just have the wings hanging off to the back, which is not coherent with the actual design of Megatron's wings. You can see that in my opinion this looks so much better than having the wings hanging off the back, but of course it is up to your own personal preference, and as there are various 5mm tabs and ports on this, you really can display this in many different ways. And so some final thoughts. If you missed out on the original Takara Tomy release of Hades Megatron and you wanted to pick that figure up initially, then of course this figure here is a must add to your collection. I also do believe that this figure is going to appeal to not only collectors who originally missed out on the first release of this figure, but also collectors who now want to get a Transformers Prime representation of Megatron into their collections. Whilst not 100% perfect in regards to the colour scheme to what we see on the show, I think that it certainly does capture the essence of the character, especially when he does consume the Dark Energon. He does have purple Energon coursing through his veins and of course through his body, so I think that for the most part it definitely captures the essence. I just wish that Hasbro and Takara could have taken it a little further and could have added a ton more chrome on this figure, especially where the darker highlights are concerned, and I do wish that they could have tightened up some of the tolerances, or maybe had borrowed some of the engineering from the deluxe class first edition version. But setting those critiques off to the side, we are left with a really nice reissue which now goes for extortionate prices on the aftermarket. This figure at the moment retails here in the UK for anywhere between £25 to £30, which in my opinion I think is a steal, as it's almost the same price as our now modern day Voyagers, and considering this figure is 10 years old, considering it was a Takara Tomy release, and considering that you are getting two of the Takara Tomy arms microns, I really don't think that you can go wrong with this. So if you are able to pick this up and you are a fan of Transformers Prime or Megatron in general, then I think that this is potentially a must-have for your collection. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. This will not be the only Megatron that I'll be taking a look at this week, so be sure to hit that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my future uploads, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.